Welcome to BSC News Live. I hope you're doing very well. Very well. I think today might be Valentine's Day, February the 14th. Is today Valentine's Day, Ben? Well, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I wish you all the best. Have a great time with or without anyone. May the Valentine spirit be with you all. I'm going to change my lighting a bit because I'm not actually this yellow in real life. Anyway, things seem to have settled down a little bit after the news yesterday. The BUSD news. We've got a little bit more sort of updates on that. We've also posted a little short video about that, sort of explaining why it's not a UST the second, basically. And long story short, BUSD, as we were talking yesterday, is backed by dollars 1-to-1, whereas UST, all it was backed by was an algorithm that essentially went wrong. Anyway, something that's happened today is the CPI data has come through. So I'm just going to bring up a chart, and I tried to quickly draw head and shoulders in the chart, but as you can see, I did the first couple of clicks wrong, and the rest just followed. So I'm actually going to obviously delete that because that makes no sense whatsoever. But what this chart shows is a historical CPI data, what was forecast, and what actually happened. So if we look back a little bit, so say, let's try and get a large sort of discrepancy. Maybe here. So forecast 8.1, actual 8.2. Red means bad, green means good. So if we sort of zoom in a little bit, we can see here that, hold on. Oh, actually, I'm just going to switch time frames. And there it goes. Actually, no, we'll go to this one. Okay, forecast 8.1, actual 8.2. So there was a tiny little dip before the announcement, and then when it was announced, we went up. Obviously, this is looking at Bitcoin. If we look at the traditional markets, it might be a little bit different. But before I will talk more perhaps about CPI and something perhaps I don't really know much about, Ben, I think you're a bit more qualified to talk about this this data more than I am. Have you got any thoughts on CPI and that sort of thing? Actually, oh, hold on. So here, forecast 8.1, actual 8.3, big dip. Juicy. Anyway, Ben, over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of things to remember. One, like the market's always forward looking. So I think a lot of people are assuming that inflation will continue to come down. So maybe these, that the question is really, I think now, just how quickly or slowly it happens. So, the market is up. We didn't beat the expectation, but inflation did come down a tiny bit today. And I think certain sectors like food was still high, which could have something to do with like energy still being high because it's winter time. Fuel costs are high. There's still like global uncertainty and war and all that. I mean, it's kind of, I think, just everyone's trying to expect what happens over the next 3-6 months. And I think most people just expect it to continue coming down. So there's probably, maybe these CPI prints get less and less important over time, where before people were like, is it going to go higher? What's it going to do? And, there was a lot of focus on it, where there's still focus on it, of course. But I think everyone's kind of expecting it to just slowly come down over time.
Indeed. I think, that's obviously the general expectation. What is interesting is the volatility. So this is the NASDAQ. You can't quite see it at the top, but that's fine. So this is the NASDAQ. So the volatility started around 120 UTC, which, if I just get a New York time up, Hold on. That'll
Yeah.
sort of give us a more accurate representation. So actually, that's when the markets open. So the traditional finance markets in America open at 8:30 New York time in the morning.
Actually 9:30
Oh,
New York time.
okay, fine.
It was
Well,
pre-market trading.
classic pre-market traders. So yeah, there was a lot of volatility before the CPI data was announced. Is this a normal thing? Is this something, before big announcements and during big announcements, we see a lot of volatility?
Yeah. You can even look at like when Jerome Powell's speaking, the market's gonna like swing on every sentence that he puts out there. So I think it should be
Wow,
no surprise that when everyone's expecting CPI data, that there's just like a ton of volatility.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, this is the 1 minute chart, and you can see, quite.
Well, and keep in mind it is the 1 minute chart, so it might not be quite as volatile as this chart makes it.
I know.
Makes it
It's just,
appear.
yeah, I'm sort of exaggerating the volatility. Mr. Dip, if you're watching, I know you're a fan of the 1 minute chart. This is for you. So this is the 1 minute chart, but we can see sort of during, pre and during the announcement. I'm just going to do a quick price range. So 2.27, and for the Nasdaq, 2.27% change is quite large. And if we sort of do the daily high and daily low, 2.34, which is a lot. I think for
I'll
the
give you
daily high.
that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. And then if we go back to BTC, similar volatility happened. Obviously not the same, but yeah, there was sort of similar volatility. And again with BTC, which is interesting, we sort of have a daily low and a daily high with nearly 4%. Obviously, crypto can be a lot more volatile, and that's what we've seen with BTC, which is sort of to an extent expected, really. Do you know perhaps, Ben, where we might go from here with BTC price? I think that's a question that's on a lot of people's mind. When moon, where do we go from here?
Sideways.
Good answer.
If yeah, I mean, who knows? Hopefully nothing happens that causes like a major pullback, but probably just ranging. Everything's still just kind of coming back to normal. Let's say it's just gonna take a long time. I think that until everyone's pretty confident that inflation is going to come down to like that 2% target, and what's happening with interest rates and whatever, what's that look like for the next 6 months? I think we just get this like a lot of ranging. People are kind of uncertain what to do. So sideways range would be my speculation. Now I don't know how big that range is.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the questions. Is 18K part of that range? Is 30K part of that range? That'll be the question.
Indeed. And with the all-time high of sorry, there's quite a lot of stuff there, but yeah, the all-time high of Bitcoin was around 69,396.4. Do you think, in your personal opinion, we're going to see that all-time high again, even ever?
Ever, yes.
Okay.
This year, probably not. I'd assume this year is kind of like I don't know what, just like regaining confidence. I do think that once that confidence is back and there's a lot of support at whatever prices we're looking at, maybe 20s, 30s, eventually it's like, okay, everyone starts to come back in. We're definitely just not there yet. I mean, right now, especially in the crypto market, the question is who's the SEC going to sue next week? So we've got to get through this round of lawsuits, and there's going to be a lot. I think they've probably just gotten started.
Yeah, and who do you think, or what type of crypto projects or crypto projects that are offering a certain type of product, what do you think is sort of in their sights? If you were I don't know, a crypto project advisor, what would you advise maybe crypto projects to stay away from at this time to avoid being in the SEC's bullseye targets?
With DeFi, I'm not sure. It's pretty clear that right now they're looking at the intermediaries, especially with staking, stable coins. Anyone that's doing something as a company, right, with customer funds, that's going to be where they're clearly going to focus. DeFi it's very interesting. And I think we talked about this yesterday. Maybe it's like who controls the contract? Is PancakeSwap an intermediary? The argument could be yes, the argument could be no. I would lean towards yes, potentially. So, does the SEC go after DeFi? Do they allow them to get compliant? It doesn't look like the SEC is interested in letting people get compliant at this point. I think they're more like, we're going to go punish right now, which is really disappointing, right? When there was unclear regulation, and they're not giving these companies the chance to make things right. It's just like, you have to shut down, you have to pay a fine. So that's definitely a disappointing approach, and it's obviously in response to FTX.
Yeah, and to what extent do you think they look at the knock-on effect for the average retail consumer? Obviously, they're going to take that into account, because they wouldn't just stitch over loads and loads of people, including their own population. But do you think they realize the full extent of the impact that it's going to have on a lot of the retail users of crypto, and the sort of the general population of crypto users? Or do you think they're a bit not misinformed, but they're not, they don't really know how it would perhaps affect retail users?
I think they know. I think the logic is, do this now when it's a smaller market and has less implications on the broader market. Because if this market was 10 times the size, there could be real implications throughout the financial markets because something happens in crypto, right? So if you have a banking meltdown, that affected everything, right? That was the sky's falling. FTX was luckily too small to have that ripple effect totally outside of crypto. Obviously, I'm sure there was plenty of funds with small investments in FTX. One, for example, was there was a Canadian fund that was a teachers union or something, and so that portion of that retirement got just wiped out. Now imagine that was larger. What if that was 10 times larger, 100 times larger? There could be real broad implications. So, to give the benefit of the doubt, the idea is they're going to come hard at this right now, and then, get it in line with how the rest of the financial systems work, and then it can grow and scale from there. So I think we just have to weather the storm.
Indeed.
And that could mean lowering risk, right? So they're not going to close Bitcoin, so you're probably safe being there. Ethereum is probably safe. I think as an investor, you can know you can't fight the SEC as an investor. So you just have to think, what are they, like you said, what are they going to go after? What's the targets? Who are they going to sue? Who are they going to shut down? And you don't have to be a contrarian with your own money. You can set up your investments to where you have that exposure to crypto, and you can feel pretty safe that it's not going to be wiped out by regulation.
Indeed. And
that's
sort
a bold stance, I suppose, right? But it's what do you want to do with your money that you don't want to go to zero?
Indeed. And I want to think that that governments, regulators do have the best interest of the consumer at heart. It may not seem like that way sometimes, but I want to believe that, and I sort of do in the back of my head believe that. At times, it can be completely opposite. As some of you know, I used to be a teacher, and the UK regulator for education, Ofsted, obviously, yeah, that they have the essentially the children's best interests at heart theoretically, but from a teacher's point of view, they made, to put it lightly, the job difficult sometimes.
I just want to jump in there, like with that idea in mind. Something that they're pointing out a lot is these intermediaries are not properly explaining the risk to the consumer. So let's take BlockFi, for example. Everything, when you're looking at BlockFi, says to the consumer at the time, like, you're going to make a couple percent. It seems safe. It almost seems like a bank account. Now, obviously, they didn't say that, but like that was that feel, right? It was never like your money is being used in high risk loans, right? That's what was really happening. So if you knew that your money, your Bitcoin, was being used in really high risk loans, would you have put your Bitcoin there for 2.5% interest? Like the interest APR and the risk level did not match up at all, in my opinion. That's why I never used BlockFi, because it's like, why would I put it there for a couple percent interest? It just didn't make sense to me. And same thing with with these earn products on exchanges, super high risk on uncollateralized loans that blew up, and then the users are like, I was just expecting a couple percent interest, and now all my money's gone.
Yeah.
So what the SEC is telling these intermediaries is like, you can't just say like, oh, it's an earned product, come earn some money, right? That's how they've been presenting it. There should be a disclaimer like, this is risky stuff. Like, do you really want to risk all of your assets for 4%? That is not a risk anyone should be taking.
No.
So in terms of like, do they have the consumer at heart? In that instance, I would say yes, because all these consumers, there's so many people that lost so much money because they thought they were using low risk investment products.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like these, like, you were putting money into these things, they were putting it into UST. Right. So, and I never even touched UST because I'm like, I don't know how it pays me 20%, but I don't want to find out.
Did UST pay 20%? Is
guaranteed 20% APR on UST. And so that's why I never used it, because I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, where's the yield coming from?
Yeah.
Like I had no understanding of where the yield was coming from. However, if you put your USDC in an earned product, they were using it to make 20% on UST and then giving you a few percent, and then they lost all the principal. So yeah, this is risky stuff and it needs to be regulated. DeFi, I don't care about regulation in DeFi. It's a different game.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my mom wanting to hold Ethereum somewhere safely, I want them to explain to my mom, oh, we're actually really YOLOing this. Are you sure you want to do this? Right?
So in your opinion, are the safest ways to, earn, well, in inverted commas, interest on your crypto, yield farming, perhaps using liquidity pairs and earning fees from trading like that? Obviously, there'll be the impermanent loss risk, but what do you think is the safest way to sort of earn from your crypto without risk? Well, obviously there's going to be risk.
There's always going to be risk,
but without the centralized risk.
Sure. So something I love about DeFi lending is, so this is we're going to assume everything in the protocol is going to work, right? So there won't be exploits. So DeFi has its own exploit risk, but like, let's use Venus protocol, for example. That there's no uncollateralized loans. There's no back doors where there could be customers that for some reason don't have to have collateral. Like that was the FTX problem. Like Alameda had this like unlimited margin. They could never get liquidated. So in terms of the system working properly, something like Venus is probably one of the lowest risk ways to earn interest. Once you get into liquidity pools, also, in my opinion, super low risk, but it just depends on the assets that you choose. So I would say that also with Venus, like there's obviously a bigger risk between Cake and Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Way different asset risk, but that Venus isn't lending the money out to a hedge fund who's going to go lose it all. That's not part of what they do.
Exactly.
And it's transparent. So like when you go to Venus, you can understand what's going on. When you go to BlockFi, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Or when you go to really any centralized entity. So that is definitely a problem for the SEC. And I think that is a rightful problem. I'm pretty passionate about this because it makes me mad that these intermediaries just lost billions with a B, billions of dollars of retail money. And everyone's like mad that the SEC is showing up, telling these companies that they got to clean their shit up.
Yeah. We don't want an FTX times, again, or Mount Gox.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine if the bull run continued for another year and FTX had 50 billion. And then the meltdown happened, right? Imagine that. Like instead of just 10 billion lost, you get 50 billion lost or 100 billion lost or 200 billion.
Yeah.
So these intermediaries they're being told by the SEC, you've got to communicate risk and you've got to register your products. I mean, seems fair.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think having what happened to FTX, during maybe the height of the bull run or a bull run in future, would have been a lot worse. And I can imagine with time, FTX just seemed to be digging themselves a deeper and deeper hole. It would have not been worse just because they'd have had more assets because of bull run, but they perhaps have their fingers in more pies because Alameda stretches quite far. I'll bring up a sort of Alameda map of all the different projects that they're connected to because it was a lot.
It was a lot in it. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but BlockFi didn't go out of business because they had no interaction with FTX and Alameda Research. All of these were interconnected. It all was tying to Luna and Alameda and FTX. And there was just so much risk on the table that everyday users had no idea what's going on.
Yeah, indeed. And that's perhaps, centralization. Get your coins off exchanges, basically.
Well, that's what Gary Gensler said that. I mean, it's so funny. He said, not your keys, not your crypto, because when you give there's so many violations here with the SEC with these companies. And I know I feel like we've talked about this already before, like yesterday or last week or something, but it's just like this is good for the space. This is good for long term. Big funds will be a lot happier deploying capital at this point if everything's on the up and up.
Yeah, indeed. So Alameda Research, I know it's a little bit of a sidetrack, but if we go on Crunchbase, which has information about a lot of different companies and sort of their investments and things, so they've got 302 investments, and that it ranges far and wide. Obviously, because there's 302, including Aptos. So yeah, to show more, I do need to upgrade my account. But from this sort of short list, we can see who they've invested with, that sort of thing. But the money, well, obviously, if they've invested in a project, are they going to keep that investment, or has that somehow just gone? I don't know. How does that work now that what's going on is happening?
I mean, I guess it depends on how like the bankruptcy stuff goes, but they should have to liquidate in order to pay whoever they owe money to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Cheers.
Honestly, I was just waiting for you to do that. Like,
Yeah.
That's so funny. It, God, it's just so annoying that like some 25-year-olds were just like so aggressive with other people's money,
Yeah, I know.
and they were just such assholes about it.
Yeah.
Like it's so criminal, and like not everyone's perfect, right? Like companies make mistakes, but that's why you have regulators. They're there to fix mistakes. It's gonna be interesting to see, like, I don't know, like in Europe. I don't know if this is still the case, but I was in Europe when I was 18, so this is like a long time ago. And on packs of cigarettes, it just said "smoking kills" on the pack of cigarettes.
Yep.
And in the US, those are much softer labels, like may cause lung cancer. And in Europe, it was just like, nope, smoking kills, skull and crossbones, or like a picture of a dead person, like on the pack of cigarettes. Which, as an 18-year-old, like I thought that was really funny. But are you going to go to these earned products and you just click on a disclaimer and it's like, we might lose all your money? Do you still want to make 4% on your cashier? Because you can make 4% on treasuries right now without risking to whatever that woman's name is, to losing it all.
I know. Yeah. One platform that I'm a big fan of as well is 10 Finance, and also their Lend coming out as well. And the guy behind it, Mr. 10, he's obviously very experienced in traditional finance and crypto. And the sort of the decentralization aspect of their platforms, or their platform, I'm a big fan of as well. It, to an extent, is similar to Venus in the way it's decentralized. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Lend coming out also.
Yeah,
Ben. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yep.
I'll say, like, and I've spoken with Mr. 10, and he's so adamant about the fact that how this lending is so simple, right? Such a simple product of just, if you want to borrow, you put up collateral. If you'll get liquidated if it doesn't work out for you, right? It's not the same type of thing. Hopefully, the SEC can recognize the transparency of DeFi and just how simple it is. That's something that, like, Lend, Venus, whatever, they're all the simplest lending systems on the planet, in my opinion, right? Like, just so straightforward. And that's something that should be celebrated out of the DeFi space rather than like crushed by regulation.
Definitely. I'm going to play a clip quickly. I'm just uploading it now from a Twitter space or a live that we recently did with 10 Finance or Lend, which is quite interesting. However, circling back very quickly, Ben, to the cigarette packet thing. In America, are cigarette packets still, branded? You can see Marlboro on them, and have they got a warning on them?
Yeah, they've got like a Surgeon General's warning, which is like,
okay,
don't smoke if you're pregnant, kind of thing. It's not like Europe at all, where it's like on the front of the thing. It's like, sign here to die, basically.
Yeah. So in the UK, I think maybe the whole of Europe as well, there's no branding on them whatsoever. The colours of them are all the same. They're like I was going to show it on my screen, but I'll explain why I'm not going to in a moment. The colour of them is like a browny green, made to look disgusting. At the very top, it says a really, stark warning message, like smoking causes mouth and throat cancer, and then a very, very graphic picture of the harm that it can do to you. And then in tiny white writing at the bottom, it'll have the brand and the sort of variant. But they all look exactly the same, apart from the picture on the front of different gory things. So, you can't walk around looking cool with a pack of Marlboro. You walk around with like a box of poo-coloured gore. And it's, yeah. I'm going to play the clip that I've got from Lend here, or 10 Finance. And it's Mr. 10 sort of talking about decentralization, and also more specifically, decentralized banks or centralized entities feel threatened by crypto. Here we go. you have experience in the financial system. To the best of your knowledge, do traditional banks see crypto, DeFi and lending as a threat to their profitability and success?
Absolutely. I think traditional banking, if you know how fractional reserve or fractional banking works, is the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States requires 0% collateral for them to lend out money to you. Meaning, you can walk into, actually, we had this discussion on our Lend chat earlier, is you can walk into JP Morgan and based on your credit history or whatever other relationship data they use, is they can give you $1 million loan and JP Morgan does not need to have that $1 million as collateral to give it to you. So essentially, they talk about magic internet money. Hello, the banks, the commercial banks are essentially doing that. The credit bubble that exists within today's society is huge. Nobody talks about it. If people were to start defaulting on their credit cards and their mortgages and their car payments, it's a pretty grim picture that's painted out.
Interesting. So that was Mr. 10 from 10 Finance. I've also got another interesting clip about traditional finance, and this is more specifically about fractional reserve banking. I'm going to play it from YouTube. It's filmed from the European Parliament, which is sort of open source, that sort of thing. I don't need to worry about copyright. And after that, I'm going to quickly talk about our sponsor. And then after that, we have our special guests, good fellas, who will be coming up in a few minutes. Before I play the clip, though, we're going to say goodbye to Ben. He's going to obviously be with us again tomorrow. But after the clip, we're going to say hello to Goodfellas. So thank you very much once again, Ben, for being with us.
Thank you, Tom.
We look forward to seeing
me
you.
all worked up every time here.
Oh, well, yeah, I know. Yeah, we do have some good discussions. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anytime. Here is the clip from, it's the European Parliament. Here we go.
For the EFT, Mr. Bloom has 2 minutes.
Commissioner, Mr. President, I rise again, I'm afraid, to make the same old hoary speech that I've been making here for several years, and that is, it is my opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. It isn't some sort of tsunami. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal and it's been going on for too long. To add to that problem, you have moral hazard, a very significant moral hazard from the political sphere. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name. The artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money. And yet we blame the real retail banks for manipulating LIBOR. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer. And until we start sending bankers, and I include central bankers and politicians, to prison for this outrage, it will continue.
And there we are. So that was a clip from the European Parliament. It was uploaded by a reasonably divisive political party. Some say right wing. However, this is not a podcast or a show about politics. Before we get on to our guest, which will be with us in just a few moments, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our sponsor. So our sponsor, which you can see just there and also there, as above, so below, is Bloxroot. They're in also the comments on our Twitter post as well. And what they offer is a custom RPC URL on the BNB chain to stop you getting front run or sandwiched attacked. They stop front running and sandwich attacks. So here is a QR code that you can use, and all you need to do is add a custom RPC URL to your MetaMask. It'll ensure that you don't get front run or sandwiched attacked. You might have seen perhaps on websites like PooCoin or Dex Screener, in between your trade on a decentralized exchange, a large buy and a sell, or a large sell and a buy, and essentially that's a person using a smart contract to abuse your slippage, so making you pay the worst price and them essentially profiting off it. A very, very, very quick trade, impossible for a human to do, but Bloxroot Protect covers you from that. You would lose money if you are front run, and also it drains liquidity from the pool as well, and that is Bloxroot Labs, and the description for them is in the comments below. And it's going to, stay up at the bottom there. Anyway, what I'd like to do now, so I've been a big fan of our guests coming up for a while now. They're called Goodfellas. Please remember that the Goodfellas is spelt with 3 O's and not 2 O's, like traditional Goodfellas. Anyway, we have, I think it's KC, or from Goodfellas. KC, is that you from Goodfellas?
It is. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you?
That you always say good fellas. Thank you for the pronunciation.
Anytime. Well, I think it's important to, people know that it's 3 O's, good fellas. It's brilliant to have you here. Thank you, KC. Before we get on to Chain Raiders, which I'm very excited about, people watching might not have, some of them, I'd be surprised, but they might not have heard of Goodfellas before, and sort of what you do, your mint pass, previous collections, things like that. Would you like to give us an overview of Goodfellas? And you're more than welcome as well to share your screen or whatever sort of visual aids you want as well.
Yeah, gladly. So first, I apologize for not being on camera. I'm kind of on the fly here, so you've got our logo. But yeah, Goodfellas is an NFT ecosystem. We launched our Goodfellas in end of May, early June, somewhere around that time frame. Ends of launching 4 primary collections and then 2 kind of supplemental exclusively for our Mint Pass holders. So all the holders of our Mint Pass NFT from each of our collections. Fast forward a little bit, right? We launched, then airdropped the MF for Toads, launched our Hacked collection name, and now at this point in time, we are on collection 3, Chain Raiders. We also offer multi-collection stake teas, with the exception of the Goodfellas Mint Pass. Can be staked, earns the holders good tokens, and those good tokens can be redeemed for BNB and NFTs through our Goodfellas staking.
Nice, cool. For some reason, your audio occasionally cuts out, but I don't. Yeah, I think it's very easy to understand you still. But listeners, if you can hear like a slight doop sometimes, sorry, but I hope you can understand it still. I'm sure you can. It's very easy to. Anyway, Goodfellas. So yeah, I've got your site up now. I've staked all of what I've got so far. I don't think I've staked my Chain Raider yet, but I've staked my Binions, my Hacked, and obviously Chain Raiders, which we'll talk about very soon. So the art for Goodfellas, I'll bring it up on screen very shortly as well, I think is exceptional. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about your sort of artist team behind the collection? I'll bring up some of the art as well.
Yeah, gladly. So the artist team is really at the core of the Goodfellas reason behind our logo. It's the reason that our Goodfellas is spelled with 3 of 3 incredible artists. Ram Design handles all of our collections. We have Vachette, who is a 3D artist, and then also Nino, aka Defo Q, 3D artist. So essentially, Ram, we all work together to come up with concepts. The hard job of turning our ideas into work. He'll kind of hand them off to Nino and Vachette, who will do their thing between the shading, texturing, coloring, rendering, and all of those great things. Tom, are you muted, or is it just on my end?
Sorry. Yeah, no, I left myself muted. Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah. But what I was saying was, all of your NFTs and the artwork within your NFTs, the 3D artwork is exceptional. I used to teach computer science. Within that was game design in Unity, and then within that was 3D modeling. So I have a little bit of understanding of it. And yeah, what Vachette creates, as you can probably see on the screen at the moment, is incredible. The sort of surface imperfections there on the screen, the attention to detail is outstanding. And this goes across all of the Goodfellas collections. And I'm constantly amazed at the quality that sort of comes out, the artwork, and the amount of it as well. It's not just, you released one collection with a couple of traits. It's a lot of collections with loads of traits. And the quality is just outstanding. One thing as well, I'm just going to mention to the listeners very quickly. So you might see with this hacked, obviously it's an animation, it's a GIF. GIFs can only display 256 colors at the same time. And that's why you might think, well, the quality here is a bit fuzzy. That's why it's GIFs. It can only display 256 colors. We'll get on to talking about Chain Raiders very, very soon. But hacked, I think, is quite a cool concept and a very sort of fun game, so to speak. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about hacked and sort of how it works?
Yeah, I'd love to. So Hacked is a dynamic 3D NFT collection of 2,222, and each one of them essentially acts as your ticket into the Hacked game. So game back in October of this year, we have new games that weeks, and basically the way it works is everybody who holds a good starts off in the game at the beginning of each new game. Every 24 hours, somebody goes to our website and presses, so it's like an ongoing thing to see who can get there and press the hack button first. And that will hack 50% of the NFTs that are in the game. So that process will continue until eventually there's only one person left in 10 to 12 days. And the way we have it set up is 8 people still remaining will win some sort of B&B prize. So a little bit, if you get hacked, you have up to re-enter your NFT. So if I get hacked, I can go to our web, re-enter my NFT into the game, and now it's alive again. The number is dictated by my staking tier. So for our top tier stakers, which is re-enter each NFT up to 3 times per game. Every time their NFT, and usually we have a couple thousand re-entries each game, but every their NFT, they pay a small transaction fee that ranges from 5 BNB to 0.015 BNB. And again, the fee that you pay for reentry is dependent on your staking tier, and all NFTs are staked. So if your hacked NFTs are staked, your reentry fee is less. Entry fees that we collect from each game are used to fund for the next game. So we have, I think, on average, our average price 12 BNB every hacked game. I think we ran some stats after. I think the numbers worked out to we've given out around 21 BNB in the 107 days since the game was laid. 14 games, and we've had 81 winners.
That's good. Very good numbers. Has anyone ever won that's not re-entered? So has anyone essentially stayed for the whole hacked process and won, but not re-entered?
Yeah, actually, our last game right now, game 14, which was our last full game, the winner was re-enter their NFT. I would say usually the majority of the time people re-entered at least once or more, but we did finally have a winner last game that didn't meet at all. In fact,
impressive.
They bought the NFT market when things got down to the final round of 8, the Alive Hell, they bought it for like 0.8 BNB and ended up winning that, which earned them like 6 BNB.
Wow. Yeah, so you'd obviously have to calculate the risk. And so if there's 8 people left when that person re-entered, let's say, 8 including them, would essentially that be a 1 in 8 chance that they could win if no one else was to re-enter again after that?
So usually by that stage in the game, when there's the re-entries are typically exhausted. So there's a fixed amount, too far into the weeds, but there's a fixed amount of re-entries that are available each game. It essentially is on a first come, first serve basis. So like the first, anybody can re-enter their NFTs, but once we get to like day 5 and 6, entries that are remaining for that game usually dwindle down to 0. Day 9 and 10, when there's 32, 16, 8 people left, those re-entries are gone. So it really is just luck of the draw. And it prizes for first place through 8th place, like in our current game. Each win 0.25 BNB. 3 and 4 earn, I think, second place earns 3 BNB-ish, and then first place wins around 6 BNB. You see a lot of different dynamics. Like sometimes the final 8 will band together and split the prizes evenly, or sometimes you get the final 4 who will do something like that. So dynamics in terms of secondary trading strategy.
Yeah, indeed. It's exciting stuff. And one last question before we get on to Chain Raiders. How much of the hacked game is calculated and done on chain? And also, would you be able to explain what these symbols mean that are on the screen at the moment?
Yeah, so all of the hacked transactions occur on chain. The majority of the game is operated both Chainlink BRF and then one of their other tools, and selection and things like that is all done on chain. These are essentially, if you picture your hacked as a lottery ticket and as your numbers on that lottery ticket, right? So if I purchase a lottery, it's a lotto that has 5 numbers, for example. These are your numbers on a lottery ticket, and your hacked is the lottery tickets that are still alive. They have 3 symbols on that screen, 3 numbers for that hacked NFT. So this upper box is the left symbol. The first attack will eliminate 50% of the symbols. One of those symbols attacked, if it doesn't, it's still alive. And that process continues until then we move over to the center symbol and we go through the same exact process. So it's really a every day, every time that hack button is getting pressed, it's essentially eliminating how the devs set up the game rather than just doing like, hey, a coin toss randomly selected. There's something visual that actually ties it to each hack. And it sounds complicated until you go through one game. Like I always tell, one game and follow it along. By the end of that game, you'll be an expert. It only sounds actually go through it and try it for the first time, and it really is easy. And the beauty of it is you can just hold your hacked NFT, never do anything, and you still have a chance to win every game.
Like me. I mean, I do sometimes re-enter. I haven't been lucky yet, but one of these days, fingers crossed. But it's very fun, and the community that you've got as well is really active, very, very friendly and kind. So, I mean, if you're just generally interested in B&B NFTs in general, I think the Goodfellas community is also good to join. Also, I'll put the link for their Telegram up on the screen in just a moment. So now onto your latest release. So I have my Chain Raider because I have a Mint Pass. Yeah, would you be able to tell us about Chain Raiders?
Yeah, for sure. So Chain Raiders is our full collection. So at the surface, the Chain Raiders are these 3D space. So that's what they are. That's what the NFT collection is when you get this vessel. But the vessels will be part of our Chain Raiders game, which will be a real-time game. The best part about it is that it's integrated with previously launched collections. So last week we released our you can go to the garage, pull up your Chain Raiders vessel. You can choose a Pinions and your MF or Toads. You can choose a co-pilot from your Binions and your then you can go through and choose a hacked NFT to fuse it to the garage, and you have your vessel and you pick a hacked NFT to fuse it with. So yeah, if you actually click on the little menu bar in the upper right and go to the show as we're talking, there it is, right in the middle garage. Sorry. So yeah, you can fuse it with a hacked NFT. So you're take on the visual traits of your hacked NFT, and now you've selected your vessel to pair it with, and all of those things will factor in. So for example, the Binions you select will impact your power in the game, your moving average. Your hacked NFT will impact your speed in the game. Also, the impact your energy. So every day, for example, you go in, you explore the map, you find a mission or a raid that you want. We'll say, okay, this raid requires 70% energy and 20. So if you have a Mint Pass equipped on your vehicle or on your vessel, it will give energy boost, allowing you to continue raiding longer. And again, your Binions so if there's a certain power threshold, you can choose Binions that will give you a boost, and all of those. So yeah, you can kind of see as you're playing right now, you choose your pilot, your co-pilot, you can choose, and now all of a sudden your vessel looks completely different. And this, thanks to our amazing developers, that fusion process will be moved week. So if you want to, you can actually take a hack vessel, list it that way on the secondary market, and if it sells, both tokens. It'll sell your hacked NFT and your Chain Raider vessel. Fused, or you can not fuse them. And of course, you can unfuse at any time. It's forever. You can mix and match and change them out as you wish.
That's so cool. I'm a bit embarrassed to say this, but I didn't know all of this. I don't know why, but I think it's really cool. The only collection that I don't have at the moment is MF for Toads. And I could, have my co-pilot as one of them. But at the moment, it's just a clone of my original Binion. But this, it's really good. And how the hacked, your hacked right? NFT, so much work must have gone into this. It's incredible
amount of work.
Yeah.
First of all, that they had to build a base collection for the mint, and then had to take and modify it to be able to be fused with the Chain Raiders. So they had 2 entire collections to support this. And the fact that you didn't know about this, the thing with Goodfellas, we have put out and delivered and offer so much. It's hard sometimes for people who are just kind of casual traders to keep up on all of. People are nervous about that, right? They feel like it's too much for them. They don't expect people to participate and take part in every single thing that we deliver. And we like to say that we offer something for everybody. So if you just like to earn passive income away and continue to earn that passive income, if you like to game, participate in hacked so there's a lot of option and diversity within the ecosystem for investors.
It's really, really impressive. And I've just downloaded a picture as well of essentially my new Chain Raider. I'm just going to try and bring it up. Hold on a moment. So this is a downloaded version of my Chain Raider. Bonnie, if you're watching, this is my gift to you. So I call this the SS Bonnie, the B&B SS Bonnie. Let me know if you'd like the gift. This is for you. No, I think it's really good. So I could spend so much time on here. So once you've obviously got your, I'm just going to switch back screens again to 2 seconds to the garage. There we go. So what on top of this, what will we be able to do? I want to, I know it's bad to say, but I want to now get an MF for Toad. I think the floor price isn't too bad at the moment, so I'll be able to get one. Well, when I say bad, it's not too high, because if it was really high, obviously it'd be a different story, but I'll be able to afford one, which is good. But what sort of more can we do with these Chain Raiders? So, I've made my little fusion SS Bonnie.
So in the next last week we shared a bit of a video clip that kind of showed the general concept and flow of the game, and I would say later this week we'll have more game mechanics, but essentially you'll be able to take your assets, select your crew, map, find different raids, so you can essentially assign your allow them to raid. And when I say raid, I don't mean you're actually flying or fighting. You find a raid, the raid will take a certain amount of time, and when the raid is complete, you'll be able to earn NFTs, crypto. It could be upgrades to your vessel that'll help you for raids. So we'll have a lot more on that coming soon.
Fantastic. I'm trying to find the video now, just so I can sort of play it on the screen. So I've asked in the chat, but I think I can obviously add it at the end. But honestly, I could talk for a long time about this, and it'll be great to have you back on the stream. Obviously, you know, when more collections are released and more updates come. But I think it's so good how you can literally genuinely fuse these NFTs. A lot of projects, you know, say, you know, you can fuse the NFTs, but nothing really happens. But here, as you can see on the screen, bish bosh bam. But Casey, yeah, we are coming up to an hour, but it's been fantastic to talk to you, and we will have you on again soon. Yeah.
Once we've got the full details on the game, and maybe we can do a longer overview and talk more.
Most definitely. Well, thank you very, very much again, Casey from Good Fellas. Speak soon. Thank you very much, Casey.
Thanks.
Au revoir.
Guys.
Thank you again.
Take care.
Thank you very much, everyone, once again, for tuning in to BSC News Live. Once again, we're here every weekday, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. UTC, on a number of platforms, including Twitter, which you could be watching at the moment, which is at BSC News. On YouTube, we're at BSC News Live. We're also on Trovo, BSC News Live, and also on Rumble, BSC News Live there as well. Once again, our sponsors, or our sponsor, is Bloxroot. You can find more information about them either by scanning that. I'm touching it. Bang on. By scanning that QR code. And you'll be able to be protected against front-running attacks, sandwich attacks. For retail traders like myself, and perhaps you also, that just do a bit of casual DeFi trading here and there, it's completely free. All it is just a different custom RPC URL in your MetaMask. And shout out to the people watching as well. Edmar Liete, I don't know how to pronounce your surname, sorry. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Greetings from Brazil. Great to have such a worldwide audience. Anyway, speak soon, everyone. We're here every day, 5 p.m. UTC.